with a fan suing WWE and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Recalling his first job as a limo driver, John Cena noted how he was fired, saying on the Drew Barrymore show, "So I was always late. I mean late. I would pick people up 2.5 hours late for their flight. I earned every single expletive that I was called, and I gotta hand it to the passengers. They came up with some new stuff that I'd never heard, and I grew up with 4 brothers. I was a limo driver before GPS systems, and I did not, being a small town boy, did not know my way around. I thought it was gonna be easy working in a car all day, but every pickup was late and every customer was dissatisfied." When asked about potentially unifying the women's title belts in WWE, SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair told the Daytona Beach News Journal, "I don't recommend a unification program because I feel that would mean less opportunities for the women. It was cool for one of the girls to have both titles at one time, but it takes a lot of spots away." Touching on the online interaction between AEW President Tony Khan and MMA journalist Ariel Helwani, where Khan called Helwani a fraud after his WWE appearance, Eric Bischoff said on his 83 Weeks podcast, "I was disappointed to see that. Look, I've heard a lot of the same rumors, and I've heard them from people that are in AEW, to be blunt, and I don't put any stock in them. I think it's bad for him, no matter who you are, unless you were sitting down and watched anyone actually doing something, whether it's snorting a line or blow or, beating their wife or whatever. Unless you witness it with your own eyes, shut up. Spreading rumors like that, it's a bad reflection, and I don't listen to that. When I hear those things, I immediately shut down. When it comes to this, I don't really pay attention to it. If somebody comes to me and we're in the middle of a conversation and they throw something like that in about Tony or anybody else, that's the end of the conversation as far as my participation goes. I won't be rude about it. I won't get up and walk away or confront someone, but in terms of actually paying attention or engaging in a further conversation, I change the subject at that point. It's just bad. You don't want to do that to people. I've had it done to me. There's no reason for it. Tony is inviting a lot of this criticism. He acts like a petulant child in the way he responds, and his response to Ariel in the crowd was a petulant child whose feelings were hurt because somebody took his toy away from him. I mean, it's just so absolutely childish. I think that's a reflection, at least in my mind, of who Tony Khan is. He's immature. He is a child with a vanity project. He's passionate. I'm not taking anything away from that. It's not like, one eliminates the other, meaning, great, his father's worth however many billions of dollars. What I heard, I don't know if it's true or not. Doesn't matter if it is or isn't. But I heard that at some point Tony launched this thing with $100 million of money that his dad was going to leave him in the will anyway. So it was Tony's money, but it just came from his dad. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if he earned that $100 million coming up with a cure for cancer or whether he inherited it, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. But when you act the way Tony acts and the way he reacts to things, I think it furthers a negative impression of him, and Tony should have never reacted the way he did to Ariel being out there. Addressing the possibility of an in-ring return, The Undertaker said on the Hawk vs. Wolf podcast, "Absolutely, if I was physically able to do it, I would be out there right now. There is a huge amount of our fan base that will grade you on a curve. They understand that you're getting long in the tooth, you have a lot of miles on you, but they just want you out there. Then there is one part of that fan base, oh man, he's old. He shouldn't be out there. He shouldn't be doing this," without any hesitation at all. If I felt like I could go and deliver a performance that people expect when they see my name on the card, I would do it. But I know I can't. Talking about the prospect of former AEW champion Kenny Omega signing with WWE, Jim Cornette had this to say on his podcast. "Well, I agree because what is he now? 37, 38? He is now older than Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson when I brought them to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Well, 39. There you go. So he is a 40-year-old guy. He's got no proven record in his only competition of drawing any ratings, if quite the opposite. They are aware that he is prickly personality and he is in it for his art. I've said it before, if they made an offer for him, it would be so the other other guys wouldn't have him just to disrupt them, and it's a minute expense on the WWE's part. But also, two things would happen. They would think he is a complete imbecile or lunatic with the way that he thinks and talks and acts and view things, or conversely, they would give him a nervous breakdown with the way that WWE thinks, acts, and talks about things. On the Under the Ring podcast, Mercedes Moné talked about traveling the world as she mentioned opening a wrestling school, saying, "Wrestling is such a universal language. When you're in there, you don't have to say anything. You just gotta flow. When I was in Mexico, I just flowed with the luchadors. When I was in Japan, I just had a flow with them, even though I couldn't exactly understand what they were saying. I love learning every single style that I can possibly be because I want to be the best in every area when it comes to Japanese wrestling, European, Mexico. I want to be the absolute best. I'm a student of the game. I've been traveling the world training with the best trainers and best wrestlers from all different generations. So I'm ready, I'm excited. This is for my own growth in the future as well, because one day I want to have my own wrestling school. So to be able to have all these different techniques and styles is something I want to be able to give to my students one day so I can teach them how to be the greatest of all time as well." When it comes to a match between John Cena and Austin Theory at WrestleMania 39, Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, "It's been the WrestleMania match for a year or since July. That's when it's been earmarked." Noting how a comeback to Raw this week was canceled by WWE, Fightful reported that Trish Stratus was set to return during the Ding Dong Hello segment with Bayley, but it didn't end up happening. Instead, Lita and Becky Lynch showed up and made a challenge for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Details are few so far, but it was confirmed to us that Trish Stratus was the original plan. In fact, Trish Stratus physically was at the show in Ottawa, but left before the segment happened. When we asked what ended up happening, we were simply told a creative change, which we'll dig more about. Speaking of canceled returns, it seems the Demon King persona of Finn Balor was supposed to come back to WWE, as Sean Ross Sapp noted. Based on internal plans, not only was Edge versus Finn Balor listed as a Hell in a Cell match for WWE Royal Rumble, but the Demon version of Finn Balor was slated to perform. Balor has used the persona 7 times in WWE on the main roster, last appearing at WWE Extreme Rules in a loss to WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. It became a SummerSlam staple for a few years, but has never been uncorked at a Royal Rumble. Some that we spoke to felt as if the Demon persona didn't fit during the current iteration of Judgment Day and were against it in this situation, while others felt like that match would have needed the extra buzz of it returning. With MVP issuing a challenge on behalf of Omos for a match at WrestleMania to Brock Lesnar, fans reacted pretty negatively to this, as they wrote on Twitter, "Am I tripping or did I hear that Omos challenged Brock Lesnar for a match at WrestleMania? LMAO. There's no way that's actually gonna happen, right? Is Vince back in charge now? Please, God, no. Aw man, we don't want to see this. Is Vince back in charge? With the way Brock versus Bobby ended and now this, I think he is. What do you expect from Vince? He must always have some control over everything, unfortunately. So wait for Goldberg to somehow cash in at WrestleMania and win the WWE Championship, because why? Because F you, that's why. This is ridiculous now. WWE is going too far. Look how big and tall and even how strong this man is. It is absolutely unfair to do this to Omos. He's definitely not lasting 5 minutes. Brock, don't show up next week." A fan that attended WrestleMania last year is suing WWE for losing hearing in his left ear, as the lawsuit reads. On or about April 3rd, 2022, plaintiff attended WrestleMania 38, which was hosted by defendant and located at AT&T Stadium, 1 AT&T Way, Arlington, Texas, 76011. Plaintiff was an invitee on the premises. Defendant was the occupier of the premises. Plaintiff was seated next to the stage of the venue. When performance began, pyrotechnics went off. The blast from the pyrotechnics was so loud that it caused plaintiff plaintiff to lose almost all hearing in his left ear. No facts suggest that anything plaintiff did or failed to do in any way caused or contributed to the incident or resulting damages. Defendant failed to notify anyone or place any warnings to warn of the existence of the dangers associated with pyrotechnics. As a result of the incident, plaintiff suffered serious injuries. Defendant is strictly liable for plaintiff's injuries arising from the pyrotechnic display because the use of pyrotechnics indoors constitutes an abnormally dangerous activity for the purposes of the common law rule that a party carrying on an abnormally dangerous activity is strictly liable for the damages caused thereby. Due to the proximity of the pyrotechnics to the invitees, the indoor nature of the display, and the inherent danger of pyrotechnics, the degree of risk of harm to invitees was particularly high at WrestleMania 38. The likelihood of harm associated with those risks was commensurate with the risk. Though defendant's lack of reasonable care caused plaintiff's injury, plaintiff asserts that no amount of reasonable care could eliminate risk that accompanies use of indoor pyrotechnics. The damage stemming from loud blasts from pyrotechnics was exacerbated by the closed atmosphere of an indoor facility like AT&T Stadium. The harm arose from the loud sound produced by the pyrotechnic blast. While the use of pyrotechnic displays is commonplace on holidays at outdoor events, the use of deafening pyrotechnics in indoor facilities with echoing effects is an irregular practice and should not be considered a matter of common usage. Moreover, the relative value of indoor pyrotechnic displays is marginal compared to the inherent risk it puts on crowded audiences in indoor facilities. The potential for harm by burns or deafening noise cannot be outweighed by the cosmetic effects of indoor pyrotechnics. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.